Hello, beautiful boss babes. Are you ready to chase life with Kelly? Well, I'm your host, Kelly Chase, and I'm so excited you're here. We are going to talk about all things love, dating, relationships, money mindset. We're going to dive deep into self-love, worthiness. I am going to bring on some incredibly empowering guests. We're going to have fun, we're going to laugh, and perhaps we're even going to shed some tears together. I am here to empower you, inspire you, and motivate you to create the life you crave. I am so excited for today's episode. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I have such a cool guest on the episode with me today. I actually met her on another reality TV show that has not come out yet, or maybe, I don't know, maybe when you're listening to this, it may have come out, but I'm super excited. She was on Indian Matchmaking on Netflix. So if you are familiar with that show, then you will know exactly who this is. Let me welcome to the show, Nadia. How are you?
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. Oh my gosh. So Nadia and I had not watched her show. Disclaimer, I still haven't. Oh my God, don't hate
That's okay. No judgment.
But yeah, so we were actually, I won't give all the spoilers away, but we were definitely, we just got done filming a couple months ago, another reality show, more talk show style. And I feel like it's going to give a different perspective on who we are and get to know like the real us.
Yeah.
You know, a lot too.
Yes.
So I'm excited for that. But yeah, we just kind of really clicked and bonded, and me relaunching the podcast, I was like, I gotta have her on. So good.
I know. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I want to know so much about you. A lot of what I talk about on my show is, you know, just people's like their lives, and you know, because we all have stories to tell, things that challenges that we may have gone through, whether they're like extreme or not, it doesn't matter. A story is a story, and everyone has a unique one, and it makes us who we are today. So obviously we'll talk about love, dating, and relationships because everybody wants to know about that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you could share, you know, like where you're from, like how you were raised, all the things.
Yeah, I am a born and raised Jersey girl. So my family moved here. My parents are immigrants. They came from Guyana, and they settled in Jersey, kids, all the things. And fast forward 30 plus years, and here I am, still in Jersey. And honestly, I love it. Jersey gets a bad rep, but there are a lot of great things about living here. But yeah, I grew up, you know, being a child of immigrants. It was a very interesting experience trying to, you know, navigate all of that, which I'm sure many others can relate to, as many are, you know, first generation in America. And so that was a really interesting dynamic. And I never really like came into myself until I would say after college, kind of being able to like accept all of the different parts of me, and like to realize exactly as you said that my story is unique, or I am unique, and how that actually was a benefit to me growing up. But I never really took it as that. I just saw it myself as like being different than everybody else. I've been a dancer my whole life. And so I started dancing when I was 3. My mom got me into it because she went to a show with some of her coworkers one day, and she saw this dance group, and she was like, hey, this looks like something I want to get my daughter involved in. And so thank you, Mom, for doing that, because it's been like one of the single greatest, you know, things of my life. Taught me so much, and confidence and teamwork and just like work ethic, which has been amazing to kind of carry through to other things.
Yeah.
So dancer, I grew up playing sports. I did volleyball, basketball, lacrosse. On top of doing dance, I went to Rutgers for my undergrad. I did business school in Jersey. I went to Seton Hall for business school. So again, Jersey girl through and through. I just, you know, fist pumping all day, all the things. And yeah, it's, you know, Indian matchmaking opportunity kind of came along. I part of my dance company that I've been with for the last like 12 years, which is crazy to say, but the last 12 years, one of the girls who runs the email, like, checks our emails, she got a casting notification and she was like, oh, she forwarded it to me. She's like, you should do this. And I was like, I'm the only single person on the on the team. So I was like, that's the only reason you're sending this to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have nothing to lose. I had tried like so many other forms of dating. And I was like, let me just, it's like send in a picture, answer 3 questions, and, we'll call you. I thought, okay, fine. So I did it. And then I had like a few calls. I didn't hear anything for a few months. So I figured they didn't choose me. The project dies, whatever it was. They emailed me about 6 months later and they were like, hey, are you still single? And I was like, thank you for making me put this in writing. Yes, I am. And that was it.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
That's so funny because that's like how my story unfolded with Love is Blind as well. It was like we had actually an ex-boyfriend. I think I told you this, but an ex-boyfriend had like referred me to the casting team for Married at First Sight, who was also the ones who produced Love is Blind.
Yeah.
And so I had actually interviewed for Married at First Sight, and it was their first season too. So I had no idea about the show or anything. I just remember getting the contract after obviously like going through the whole interview process, getting the contract. And I was like I heard them tell me like the first episode, you'd be like literally walking down an aisle to your person, but I didn't like hear them. I had to like see it in writing. And when I saw it in the contract, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to do this. And so I just I think I ghosted them, but they came back like, years later and were like, hey, so-and-so from the casting, are you still single? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, oh, could have asked me anything else, but yeah, still single. And now you have it in writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's so wild. So yeah, so it was just kind of like a fell into your lap kind of thing.
Yeah, it was very unexpected. And of course, at first I was like, okay, this is a gimmick because it was just some standard, like, Indian wedding photo. And it had like a Netflix logo, like pasted onto the picture. And it was like, are you a single South Asian millennial? And I was like, well, yes, I am. But this looks fake. So I did not think it was real until they showed up at my house. And even then I was like, is Ashton Kutcher somewhere around here? Like, am I being punked right now? Like, is this some elaborate scheme?
Oh my God.
And so even up in, because projects, they start and then, things happen and they can, die out as quickly as they started. And so I was really nervous. So literally up until I opened Netflix the morning of the release, I was like, wow, this is actually real.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty much like not in denial, but I also didn't want to get my hopes up of could this not work out? Because it just seemed like a really cool opportunity that like wouldn't normally happen to me. Right. So yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for those who did not see Indian Matchmaking, can you give us a little rundown of the show and the concept and what happened for you?
Yeah, so Indian Matchmaking follows a matchmaker, Seema Taparia. She is a matchmaker in Mumbai. She is actually like has clients all over the world. And so it was to really follow the story of, is matchmaking still a relevant concept in today's dating world, where matchmaking has been around for years and years and years. And it's not even just in South Asian culture, but in so many other cultures have their own form of matchmaking. But now with social media, with dating apps, with so many ways to meet people, is the concept of matchmaking still applicable? And so the show follows three individuals in India and then 3 individuals in the US, all single South Asian millennials, and it all, varying backgrounds and things like that. And, in hopes of being matched and, to have that lifelong partner. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but for my story, unfortunately, the matches that I had did not work out. They were really great men, and I can see why I was matched with them. On paper, they were everything that I would have wanted, and each one had a different, kind of aspect of what I was looking for. They all checked the boxes of things that I wanted, but sometimes the chemistry is not there, even though you look great on paper. But yeah, my matches unfortunately did not work out, but you should definitely watch so that you can see how some of the others worked.
Yeah. No, I definitely do need to.
Yeah. Well, you and the general population, those who have not seen it. It's very family friendly. So you can watch with your parents, with your, if you have kids, or with grandparents. It's like very wholesome.
That's nice. Yeah. I like that. Oh my gosh. That's so fun. That is so fun. So what was like your biggest takeaway from the show? Like, what did you learn anything in particular?
Yeah. For me, it really, kind of three big takeaways. One was matchmaking is not easy. I think people put a lot of pressure on the matchmaker to be like, oh, you didn't bring me somebody. Like, well, yeah, she's going to help you facilitate the, match, but not every match is going to work on the first try. Essentially, she is a real life dating app. She's an algorithm. So you input your preferences, she goes through her database and then spits out, presents to you what it is. So, I think looking at that, yeah, it's definitely not easy. People have opinions and, their preferences change and whatnot. But that was thing one. Thing two was like, I just needed to stand up for myself. There's one particular man on the show that I date, and some drama unfolds after about 7 or 8 dates. And in the past, I had always kind of let it slide, and I would look past all of these unfortunate things that happen. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. He didn't mean to do it, always giving the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes things are done purposefully. And I needed to have those happen. And it wasn't really until later in my life that I really started standing up for myself. And to have that event happen on global television is very embarrassing. And so, just really learning that, like, I need to put my foot down and stand up for myself and have essentially respect for myself, more respect for myself when it comes to what I need and what I want out of my partner. And then the last thing is that, like, people might look amazing on paper, but it's really about, for me, the chemistry that you have with someone. And that's, now more so what I'm looking for is that, like, I don't care what your resume looks like, what you do, anything. Like, are you a good human? And do we get along? Do we want the same things at the end of the day? Are we working towards the same goals? So I think those were kind of my three big takeaways from the show.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for sharing. Like you were saying, just like about standing up for yourself. I feel like a lot of us like struggle that. I was talking to someone earlier who was a relationship coach, and just having the conversation around the fact, like, I've learned so much, but I haven't actually had, like, it's not like I'm like serial dating out here. Like, I don't give myself enough opportunity to implement and practice all the things I've learned. And so it's like, I can tell you right now how I'm going to show up, but once it comes real time, how am I going to show up? Am I going to avoid the red flags? Am I going to let things pass by? Am I going to stand up and use my voice and, like, really honor my boundaries? Like, I really hope that I do, but, like, oh my God, I'm like, and then she was like, well, yeah, Kelly, maybe you need to start dating a little bit more than you are.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the same thing. I just only recently started dating again, or trying to put more effort into dating. And I think I had, responded to a DM that, we had, or a story that you had on Instagram about a guy that I was dating. And you talked about, if someone's not ready for dating, and but you guys are, but, you're going there, and it's okay to kind of move on without them. And so that very recently happened, like, as of 3 days ago, where we just, we're in very different places. And I finally was like, I'm sorry, but we can't see each other anymore because this is not, what I want. And it was like a very mutual thing. And he was like, I get it. Like, you've expressed this and I've expressed that, and it's just not going to work. And so I felt proud of myself that I was able to do that. And like, part of that was honestly like having that conversation with you, to be like, it's okay to move on without them. Obviously it sucked, because part of it was like another relationship or another situationship that didn't work out. But I know that in the long run, for me, it was the best decision to make. And so to be able to identify that and honor that and cut it off before I got any, deeper feelings, or vice versa. It just worked. So that was probably the first time that I've been able to say, I did this.
Yeah.
Me. And so that was a big one. And
I love that.
Yeah.
It does. It does, like, it's still a bummer, it's like we have to like feel those feelings of like, dang it, like when is it gonna work?
Yeah.
When will someone just stick? Like, when is it gonna stick? And so, but it's like, it's always redirecting you to a more aligned person for you.
Yeah.
And even when it doesn't, when you can see the good qualities of like, okay, like that is what I'm wanting in someone, then you're like, okay, good. There's proof that it's out there. It's evidence that it is out there.
Yeah.
And that's an awesome thing to have too. So like, what can you take from that relationship or situationship, whatever?
Yeah. I don't even know what to call it these days. Your talking ship. I have no idea.
Talking ship.
It's like now there's like so many stages, right? It's like, oh, we're just talking, or oh, now we're like dating. Oh, but now we're dating exclusively. Oh, but now we're like we're boyfriend girlfriend. I don't even know what the different stages are.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I do not. I like dated someone one time, and it ended up not so great, but we like it was probably like 2 months in, I guess, and then he came like over to like hang out with like my parents, right? And then like I discovered, like, after we had already like ended like dating, but I had discovered that he had been like unfaithful to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in addressing this to him, because we talked about things afterwards, and I addressed it, and he was like, I mean, Kelly, we weren't really like together yet. Like, we hadn't really like talked about that. I was like, you literally came to my parents' house like 3 days after what you did.
Right. Wow.
Like, what, like, and for me to say that to him, he kind of like was like, oh, I guess we were a little bit more serious than like, I'm like, do you need to have a conversation? Like, but we do, right? We have to communicate everything.
And honestly, I've started a lot of my dates now being like, hey, do you have a girlfriend?
Yeah. I
honestly ask that every single time I'm on a date now, because I can't even tell you the number of times people have said yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you for letting me know that you were being honest. Not going to work for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, then there's that other, like, I mean, obviously I think Nicole had said this too, but like asking the people, like, okay, ask them that question, but then like, is there anyone who thinks that they're in a relationship with you? Like,
there probably are. Yeah. It's truly unreal that I actually started implementing that, because you just need to be crystal clear about what the expectations are, or what the situationship you're about to walk into looks
Absolutely. Like. Oh my gosh. What is the response like? Okay, so if someone were to tell you like, yeah, I have a girlfriend, and you're like, okay, well, great for letting me know. Like, obviously this isn't gonna move forward after this. Like, how do they respond? Like, oh no, it's okay. We can still like hang out and talk.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, no, that's okay. And it's like, okay, like if you do have a girlfriend and you're in an open relationship, which, a lot of people are okay with that. Usually you come out and you lead with that. Like, yeah, I have a girlfriend, but we're in an open relationship. It's like one continuous sentence rather than I have a girlfriend. Yes. Okay. and then they don't like pause, then it's like, okay, well, that means you're not in an open relationship, and this probably isn't something that's going to work for both of us. But yeah, most of the time they're like, oh, but we can still be friends, or oh, but we can still hang out. And it was like, no, we can't.
No, I love that you asked them that though. That's good. I will take note of that when I start my dating.
Yeah. It's and some people get offended, but like it's like a yes or no question. You either do or you don't. And like if you get offended, then like that might be a you thing. So
Totally.
yeah.
Oh gosh. That is so crazy. Yeah, that is. So that's a you thing. Oh my gosh. So how was dating like before you went on Indian Matchmaker, and how is it now for you?
So dating before, I'd say before Indian Matchmaking, so that came out 2 years ago. And before that, I was single for 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. So it took me probably 2 of those 4 years to get over my previous relationship before I even felt okay enough to start dating again. And then once I did, it was not good. I started a dating blog at the time because I was like, I just need to document this. I was like, no one's gonna believe these stories. I was like, I've had guys tell me like, oh, I was like, oh, so like, what's your, idea of your relationship, or like, what do you want to get? And one guy was like, I just want to go to Bed Bath and Beyond with my wife. And I was like, okay. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like Bed Bath and Beyond, but like, like that's what you want to do. And so, yeah, there were just some really interesting characters that I met. And it was okay. And of course, I went into those situations with very low expectations. As I do say on the show, I do go into most situations with low expectations, just because I just get disappointed really easily when things don't work the way that I have them beautifully painted in my head. And so, yeah, dating was fine. I was dating, nothing new. And then I think after the show, a lot of DMs from people. Oh, you should meet my third cousin once removed. You should meet my friend. You should meet my brother. You should meet my this, whoever. And like, very great, very grateful that people were looking out for me.
Totally.
But it was very overwhelming at first. And I think now going on dates I'm much more reserved in terms of how quickly I'm a pretty open book, but like now I'm just a little more hesitant of like what I'm sharing, because like, does he know? Some people are very upfront about like, oh yeah, I saw you on the show. And then some people they kind of like ease into it, or they mention it just kind of in passing, which I actually prefer that way, because it's like, I don't want you to treat me any different because I'm not any different. I'm still a human at the end of the day, who's looking for a relationship just like everybody else is. And yeah, it's hard, because do they have a preconceived notion of who I am? Do they only want to go out with me? Now I start to doubt things, right? Do they want to go out with me because they just want to say they went out with Nadia from Indian Matchmaking? Do they want to go out with me because they think that I am only that person that they saw in 4 episodes? Do they want to go out with me because of whatever reasons? And so now not only is that layer, but then the kind of added layer is, because of the show, people recognize me sometimes, like, and I do appearances and like all of these things, and it's guys are in my DMs, guys make comments, things like that. So not only is finding a guy who's secure between the two of us, but also secure enough that he understands that this is part of it. I will not entertain those things if I am with said person, but like jealousy and resentment and all of that is part of any relationship. But now there's just like this added layer of complexity that like,
yeah,
is not easy for someone to deal with who, is not secure in themselves and secure in our relationship. So it's been hard to date with those kind of extra things. But I have met some like really great men who are like, I literally don't care about this.
Right.
Let's move on from it. I'm like, great, thank you.
Yeah.
And so.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I always think to myself too, it's like you said, it does add another layer of complexity. because I'm like, I threw up like a snippet from Love is Blind on Hinge, on my Hinge profile. Like, you know, a part of me, I was like, it's going to come up. Like, it's going to come up in conversation. So might as well just like put it out there, because like, I want them to know the level of like person they're dealing with too.
That's
you know?
true.
So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and like throw it up there, because there are going to be like, I'm not going to pull back. I'm not going to like play small, and I'm not going to like not do what I want to do. I'm, you know, I obviously have this podcast, like I'm on my Instagram all the time, like same face. Like if my partner doesn't want to be a part of my Instagram or whatever, like that's totally fine. That's their decision, while also being okay with me being on there, you know, or wanting to be a part of it too, and be like, hey, yeah, I'm going to be an influencer now. You know, like rise to the occasion. But if they're like, you know, they can say all they want, like, I can look behind, you know, beyond all of that, and like all the things that you're wanting to pursue. But at the end of the day, if they, you know, because some of that could be intimidating and, you know, create an inferior complex for them too. And I mean, just as well as myself. I mean, I could go after someone that is doing the most out there and you know, feel small myself. So
it's funny. One of the women who DM'd me saying you should meet my brother sent his Instagram handle, and most of the profiles were private. His happened to be public. So I clicked on it and I'm like, okay, like he's cute, whatever. And I didn't do anything because like, whatever, I had gotten many a DM about that. And so he came up again on my explore page. And I was like, oh, this guy looks so familiar. I was like, oh my God, it's this guy. So I took the liberty of DMing him, I responded to an Instagram story that he posted, and he was like, hey, and then like he messaged me. I was like, oh wow. I was like, wow. So we started like we exchanged numbers. He was like, do you want to FaceTime? I was like, okay. So we have been in contact, and he, it turns out, has a very successful Web3 company. Ooh. And he like very successful. And I, you know, I was telling my friends about it, and I was like, guys, I was like, what do I even bring to his table? And I was like, what can I offer someone who already has like a B after the number of their company? Oh shit. And so I was like, what, you know, and they were like, Nadia, they were like, that doesn't, they were like, you have so many other things that you offer, like that, you know, that make you like a good human. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But exactly like you were saying, this inferiority of like, well, he has everything. He can literally get any girl. Like, why does he want to talk to me? And I've been trying really hard to get that out of my head, because we still are in touch, and you know, we text and FaceTime and stuff like that. But it's been really hard for me to not feel like I'm good enough for him. Yeah. And so that's been like something that I've been exploring. And it's like, when it's the other way, I'm like, I don't care what you do, what car you have, what this, like none of that stuff matters. It's just who you are, your core. And so it's hard for me to think about it the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting. Yeah. I wonder, I mean, yeah, too. I think it's just, you know, your energy is just aligning, you know, and if that person makes you feel good. And my mom always used to say, like, you can marry a rich man just as easily as you can marry a poor man, or something like that.
That's so true. Yeah.
She's like, because it's just about, it's the love, it's the connection, and how they make you feel, and how, you know, you make them feel. So yeah, keep pursuing. Don't sabotage yourself.
I know. I'm like, why am I like creating this roadblock that really doesn't exist? Because obviously, if he wasn't interested, he would not have asked for my phone number, would not have asked if I wanted to FaceTime, would not have continued to message me. And he lives in California. It's not even like he lives here. So the fact that like when he was here, he made time to see me, and like was like, hey, when you come here, like I'll fly down to LA, whatever. So I just need to like get out of my own head, and easier said than done. But
I know this may sound like really wild, but if you haven't had a conversation with him around like his worth, like have you talked to him about that?
I have not, but I know that his company was valued at a number with a B after it. And so that's probably, I'm sure he has a B somewhere after his that. But yeah. I was like, okay, like that just like, but he actually seems, we have great conversation. He has such great energy, like loves to work out, loves to travel, loves to like just be active. He has such a positive like outlook on life, and like as do I. I'm just always like rainbows and butterflies like all the time.
I know.
And so yeah, his sister even said that. She was just like, you know, I loved your energy. Like I think you would, you know, be really great for my brother. And I was like, the fact that she said that, he ended up coming back up on my, you know, Instagram, we messaged, and then yeah, it just do things work out like this, I guess.
Yeah, they totally do. I would say, like, obviously my own opinion here, not an expert in this field, but I would say like address that, like to him in a way that's like, you know, just being vulnerable, you know, like, hey, like I, you know, researched your company. I realized it's blah, blah, blah. And it honestly kind of like intimidates me. Just because I'm, you know, maybe I'm not there yet or whatever. And I just don't like it's making me feel ways that I don't want to feel. So I felt like me talking to you about it, addressing it would like, you know, make the elephant in the room go away in a sense. Hey, gorgeous. Would you love to work with me on a more one-to-one basis, taking yourself, your relationships, business, and bank account to the next level? I want to invite you to book a one-to-one breakthrough plus strategy session with me. Apply for 6-month private one-to-one coaching or my Goddess Magic Mastermind, or simply dive into the Goddess Magic digital course bundle. Go to the link in the show notes if you'd like to work more intimately with me. I look forward to working with you. Because I had not a similar situation as far as like financially go, but like I was in a situation where it was that same person when we went to meet the parents that day. I got like really quiet while I was like observing the behavior of him with my parents and everything. And then I started like going like spiraling in my head. And I'm like, oh my God. And I recognized that like, one, I felt it was too soon that they were meeting, but two, it was like these thoughts of like a former relationship were like coming up and like how that person behaved with my parents. And so I was like really nervous, like something was gonna like not go the right way or whatever. So it was all in my head. I was super quiet. And I just like the next day I was like, I have to bring this up. And so I like told him and I just addressed it. I was like, I think I'm just like afraid like you guys weren't gonna get along, or I don't know. Like it was just like, it was bothering me. And he was like, okay, well, you know, like, thanks for telling me that. He's like, are you good now? And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Like, yeah, exactly. It seems so simple, but again, like you said, communication, just like talking about it. Yeah. It like I said, it might help. I don't know. I mean, I think if he's super into you, like that's the thing. It's like, we think sometimes we get so fearful of like speaking what's on our mind and being vulnerable and being honest because we're afraid they're going to like think something of us and leave us. Yes.
And then we're like, damn it, again.
Yes, you hit the nail completely on the head, where like sometimes I feel like I have to not say something because I'm like, am I going to look needy? Am I going to sound like I'm being dependent? Am I going to sound like X, Y, and insert literally any emotion?
Right.
And are they going to think differently about me because I even asked the question?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's always something that kind of, again, plays in my mind of like, do I even want to bring this up because this might change the course of whatever. But if they are meant for me, then, you know, the conversation, like you said, would probably be very easy, and you address the elephant and then you just walk away from the elephant.
Yeah. Because they just feel like otherwise it's just going to kind of keep like, it's almost like you'll get this like gumption to be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna like talk about it, or I'm gonna like whatever. And then you're like, you play small and you're like, don't do it. And then it just kind of like creates this like, I don't know, like unnecessary uneasiness between you and him, like energetically. Like you may be like, you know, faking your confidence or fake like, or just like pass it, not necessarily faking, but like it, you know?
Yeah.
And like he wouldn't know that any, he would be none the wiser. Like he's just being, the same or whatever. But but you're right. Like if it's meant to be, I think that they hold space for that and they okay, cool. Like, I make $1 billion. I got lots of money. I can treat you and we can travel all over the world and I can't wait to show you off to all my friends.
Well, it's funny. We were, when he was in New York, like with his team, cause they're looking to make an office out here.
Cool.
And, we like FaceTime cause he invited me to come out with, like his friends when they went out that night and I couldn't go. So he ended up FaceTiming me and his friend was like, wait, this is Nadia. Like, and he was just like, yes. So I was like, oh my gosh. Like it was really sweet that he even like, when he was out with people was like, hey, I'm still thinking about you. Like, I know you couldn't join us, but like, here's everybody. So yeah, it's,
I like that. I love
things
that.
like that. Yeah.
You know what? On the flip side, like you are a celebrity. I don't know about you, but it has taken me a long time to like get comfortable hearing myself even tell myself I'm a celebrity. Like, I don't think everybody listening, I don't think I am a celebrity. Okay. I'm just a normal human, but like everybody, they're like, you're like a celebrity. Like people know you. I watched you on TV and I'm like, I guess I could like see that. But like, so obviously it's not a problem for him that you were a celebrity. Let's put it that way. So like, it's you wrapping your head around the fact that this man is just very, very wealthy, It would be cool to like have that conversation of like, what do you think of me? Like my status of like where I am,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you ask him that for like, lead in with that and see how
yeah.
Like fascinating because I have these same thoughts about you. Or I have these thoughts about you. Oh no.
Yeah, it's so true because like he was like Forbes 30 under 30. He was like, fastest growing this, whatever. So like has such a great list of accomplishments, which are amazing. And I also have a list, as well. And so it's not like I don't want to downplay my accomplishments just because he also has a list, but it's something worth having a conversation over and we'll get there, but yeah.
You're so cute. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So I love that. You have to keep me updated.
Yes, I will.
On the unfolding of this. I think it sounds promising. It sounds really good. I like him so far. I wanted to circle back around like just bringing up the topic of like your culture. Is that ethnicity, right? I don't know.
Culture, identity, ethnicity. Yeah, all of the above. They're all interrelated.
Just like how that has been just as far as like growing up, adversity as a culture, or even, like were your parents trying to like do the arranged marriage thing like for you, because isn't that actually a part of your culture, like to have that?
So lots of ways to unfold this. So my ancestors are Indian. They were brought to Guyana as essentially slaves, indentured workers, because Great Britain owned Guyana. They brought workers from India, Africa, China, and surrounding Caribbean islands to come to Guyana to work the farmland. And so that was how my ancestors ended up there. But like multiple generations later, parents were born, they moved to America. I was born. And so I look Indian, but many generations so it was my grandma's grandfather who came from India. And they've passed on the culture, but of course, religion and food and traditions and things like that. But since people came from so many different parts of the world, it kind of just all went into essentially a big melting pot. And so there are words in the language that have African origins, that have, you know, Indian origin. There are traditions. So like some of my cousins are Christian. My family is Hindu. There are, you know, like there's so many different religions because again, people are coming from all different parts of the world. And it's so you can meet someone who's like Afro-Caribbean, someone who's Indo-Caribbean, someone who's, you know, anything, you know, there's so many different kind of diasporas that came together within just one country, and then times that by all of the different countries that Great Britain owned at the time. And so once my parents came here, you know, they kept that. And of course, like I look Indian, so people assume that I'm Indian right off the bat. And so growing up, like in Jersey, like I grew up in a pretty like white town. And so it was like me, my brother, I had 2 cousins who lived in town, and like a handful of colored kids that were part of our school, like people of color. And so, you know, I talked like this, I dressed like my friends, you know, like we couldn't afford Abercrombie, but like, you know, I wore like Limited Too and like all of these things,
same.
Like, what everybody else was wearing, right? Because like that was just whatever. But like I was so scared to like tell everyone I did Indian dancing, and I was so scared to like share that side of me because I didn't want to tell that, like I didn't want people to know that like I didn't do ballet or I didn't do jazz, or like that I was so different than they were. And so my group of friends ended up being like a very diverse group. I have like one of my best friends is like Chinese, and then, you know, like I just had like we're like the UN of like our high school. And so it was great to have that because we all kind of understood the kind of immigrant story, because everybody in my circle was also a child of an immigrant. And so that kind of what brought us together, and we're all, you know, from 5th grade until now, we're all still like best friends. But it was hard to accept that. So I kind of hid that part of my life in high school. And I never really like invited friends over to my house. I always went to their house because like my house smelled differently, and like my mom cooked different foods and all of that. And so in college, I was also on the dance team, but this time, like I went to Rutgers, right? So there's 30,000, you know, freshmen. And, you know, it was easier to find people who were very similar to me, very like-minded. And so on the dance team, of course, I found my you know, core group of what, you know, people that I identified with. And then, but again, in that, it was like Indian dancing, because that was what I grew up doing. But like, there was also the West Indian Club, but like, I was never a part of that because it was easier for me to just, yeah, I'm Indian, and just kind of like went along with that, and not having to explain. But then I realized that like, even my Indian friends didn't see me as West Indian, even though I was like I am. Right. And so that was like a whole other thing that I like kind of battled. And then it wasn't until really after college that I finally was like, guys, like I'm West Indian, and like here's my story, here's me, here's my music, my food, like come you know, explore this. And so I was able to find like my group of friends that understood it, appreciated it, love it. And, you know, now it's something that I am very open about sharing, because like, it is really cool. Like, it is really cool. Yeah. And so part of being on the show called Indian Matchmaking, and then being part of the diaspora of India, was really great, because I actually didn't realize the impact that I had on the show of, you know, people whose families left India and settled in many different countries, South Africa, Fiji, Australia, Europe, South America, Canada, you name it. They're, you know, India, the reach of South Asia goes, you know, so far. But specifically like Indo-Caribbeans, there were so many people messaging me who were like, you were like the first Guyanese person I've ever seen on mainstream anything.
Wow, that's cool.
And like, that was a lot. And I didn't realize that like what impact it would have, and who I would be representing other than myself. And it's amazing to get those messages of, you know, moms saying like, my daughter like really looks up to you, or thank you for being a good representative of what our culture is, and, you know, staying true to that and whatever. And so all of these things are like really important to me. But yeah, it wasn't until like until after college that I really was like, this is my whole self.
Yeah, I love
Here
that.
it is. Yeah.
Because I'm sure it was, I mean, when we're not being ourselves, you know, and not fully expressing who we are and accepting ourselves for who we are, it's heavy, it's exhausting.
Yeah. It was very compartmentalized in my life. So like I had my Indian dancing, and that was with my Indian friends. And then I had my home and family life, which I was West Indian. Then I had my, you know, school life where I played lacrosse and volleyball. And, you know, I was like the girl who just, you know, whatever, just like a regular American kid. And it was very exhausting to like always put myself, you know, put on my different mask every time I had to go somewhere else. And yeah, that's so hard to act one way in one situation and another way in another situation. And now it's like, here I am. So that's, yeah.
I love that. Well, I'm glad that came about, and you discovered, you know, that to be you, just to be you. And that's such a beautiful thing. I mean, so many people struggle with that for years, you know, and they never really are self-expressed. I mean, whether it's their own limiting self-talk or those of others around them, you know, their social network or something that are helping them stay stuck and not as expressive, you know?
Yeah.
What did your parents think about you going on the show?
Oh, sorry. I also didn't answer your other question about the arranged marriage,
Okay.
but, so I've always come to my parents with like crazy ideas and like crazy things. Like I remember in high school, I was like, I want to be a model. And they were like, what? And I was like, here's a casting thing I'm going to go to. And they were like, all right, here we go. And they, you know, basketball games and traveling and this and that. And so I just always have like come to them and be like, they know if I say I've been thinking, or like, so that means like some crazy thing is going to follow. And my parents, I'm so grateful, have been incredibly, incredibly supportive of like literally anything that I bring to the table. I think they just know that like, I'm going to do it whether or not they're on board. And so at this point, they're just like, yep, okay, like whatever you want, like we'll make it happen. And so I usually don't bring them things until it's like even just fully fleshed out in my head. Like if I don't 100% believe it, I'm not even going to present it to them as a thought that's happening. And so I think they've just come to trust my judgment. They're like, all right, well, if she wants to do it, like, what do we have to do to make this happen? So I've been very grateful to have their support in everything I wanted to do. And they both, even in the aftermath of the show, just have like absolutely loved, you know, the attention they've been getting, because they get recognized often. Even my dad, he was like checking into a hotel in Ohio for like work, and the lady's like, you look familiar. And my dad was like, oh, and then like the light bulb went on. And so they get recognized, you know, so for them it was, you know, very exciting, and they're so proud, and it's very sweet. But no, they've never pushed the idea of arranged marriage. They are an arranged marriage, actually.
Oh, wow.
And they've been married 30, I think next year will be 40 years for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And so they've never pushed that onto me. They actually are like very supportive that my brother and I are both still single, and that like we're probably the older cousins now who like aren't married out of like the cousin group. And like, you know, I'd say my extended family probably pushes a little bit more of like, you know, when are you guys going to get married? And so, yeah, my parents are like, just live your best life. Like it'll happen. And so, you know, any traveling or things I want to do, they're like, just go live your life and you'll figure it out. So yeah, I'm very blessed to have them be so supportive.
Totally. I love that for you. I love that.
Thank you.
Very fortunate. Very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So what are you working on anything? Like, is there, as this new, found celebrity title, do you have anything else, like projects in the work that you want to do to create more, impact and influence?
So I recently gave a TED Talk,
Oh.
in Philly at Drexel, which I do talk a lot about my culture and identity and how it kind of impacted my life. I did get asked to do another one, which is like absolutely incredible because I don't know if you can see my vision board, but TED was on my vision board for this year, and I'm very grateful for that. And so just being able to like be a positive, representation in the scope of 1, South Asians, 2, of women, and 3, of like Indo-Caribbeans as well. It's just so important. So I'd love to give the other talk, but just in terms of projects, unfortunately, with having 2 full-time jobs, my schedule sometimes does not allow for that. But I am taking classes to do some other things that I will allude to, but I hope that by next year my event planning will kind of I am going to take a pause from it to pursue some other things that I want to do personally other than helping people get married. I think there's just some kind of passion projects that I really want to put a lot of my time and effort to. So gonna work on those, but I'll share more once things are a little more solid.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so awesome. That's so cool about the TED Talk. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah, it was really amazing. At first, I had a lot of, not only was on my vision board, which I was like, wow, this actually worked. But it was for me something I struggled with because I was like, well, why does anyone want to hear what I have to say about something? Because all of the people that I was that were part of the day, because it was like a TEDx event, and so the X is like smaller communities of TED, TED communities, and so this one was PhDs and like these entrepreneurs and all of these people. So it was myself and Dale Moss from Bachelor, and so we were the 2 like celebrities who were part of the lineup, but everybody else was like a PhD and they were like professors and they had like all of these, again, accomplishments that was, were incredibly impressive. And it's like, what am I going to bring to this? What am I going to bring to this table? And so, I struggled when I was preparing because I was like, oh, I don't know. Is this impactful enough? Is this going to leave a message? What is my key takeaway of all of this? And after hearing everybody's talks, and everyone gave such like amazing feedback, and I was like, okay, I was like, this, I felt really good about it afterwards, and I absolutely loved my talk, and I can't wait to share it. It hasn't posted yet, but I hope everyone finds some takeaways of it. But what an incredible opportunity to be able to share my message.
Absolutely. No, I love that for you. And, just speaking of like imposter syndrome, I mean, we all go through that. I mean, I was on a panel back in, well, I guess I did 2, like back to back in like 1 week. But one of the panels that I did, it was me, another girl that was also on Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise. And then there was another gentleman. And like, I felt like the girl and I, like Annalise and I, were like on the same page.
I met Annalise, right?
Yes, you met Annalise. But it was like her and I felt like we were like on the same level. And then like this guy was just like, every response was just so like I was just like looking at him like, that was so good. But then, Annalise and I had conversations afterward because obviously, we were answering questions and that kind of thing too. It's just the way like his delivery was just so much more eloquent, I guess, and more. What we decided was like Annalise and I are more like storytellers, whereas this guy like gave a little bit of story, but then was so like strategy. Like this is a little glimpse of my story. This is what I did to get through it. Whereas we were like, well, let me tell you the whole story, and you pick up how to get through it through our story in a sense. But like that's just how we are. But the guy's been doing it for like 7 to 10 years. He's been public speaking. And so it's like it's his second nature.
Yeah.
So we had to like we just had this like imposter syndrome conversation afterwards, but then we were like, but like also how like it's an honor that we had the opportunity to sit on a stage with this man.
Yeah.
And ask the same question. Like, how cool is that? You know,
Yeah.
So it's such an honor and a privilege. And, you know, we just all have different ways of doing things. That's it.
Agreed. And I think what you were saying, I think that's such an interesting kind of point about just men and women in general. I feel like women are just more emotional. So you tell the story, here's all the context around what it is. And like, you kind of then like take your own messaging away from that. Whereas men are like, this is what I went through. Here's how I solved it.
That's
like
so
very
true.
factual and very just like boom, boom, boom. Whereas women like kind of paint the picture and you like really want to like experience it. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas like, yeah, for me, like, that's where that was, as you were speaking, that was where I was like, okay, well, yeah, obviously he's just going to say like, all right, here it is. This is what black and white, like, here are the facts.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, women, I think just experience things more like fully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. I love that. I like that. I'm accepting that.
Yeah. So I think both ways, and I probably would have resonated, you know, very much with the stories that you guys were sharing, just because when you hear someone's experience, like, okay, well, how can I take this and make it relevant to my own life again, without you having to dictate, like, these are the black and white takeaways, or here are the steps that we did. You're just like, okay, well, if this is how it unfolded for Kelly, how can I unfold that, you know, in a similar situation for myself?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to hear the TED Talk, and that's so awesome. You were invited to do another one too. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's exciting, but now I'm like, now what am I going to talk about?
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I'll figure that out as I start to be inspired by things and see, you know.
Absolutely. No, it's so cool. I'm so proud of you. Well, thank you for being a part of this. Share where people can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Nadia Jagessar, and I unfortunately no TikTok, no nothing like that, but at Nadia Jagessar is my handle for every platform that I'm on. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was so great to catch up and like have this conversation.
I know. I just adore you. Like I said, I feel like we just like instantly connected when we did Reality of Love. So I'm excited for that experience to unfold for us.
Yes, I can't wait for that.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much again. And we will talk soon.
All right. Talk soon.
All right. If you loved this episode, please download, share, rate, and review. If you are ready to step into that next level version of you and grow your business and bank account, it's time to unleash your goddess magic and chase life with Kelly. You can start this epic expansion journey by diving into the Goddess Magic course bundle found at chaselifetogether.com. Please connect with me on Instagram at Chase Life with Kelly. Join the Chase Life with Kelly Facebook community and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, create the life you crave, babe, and chase life with Kelly.